Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to recreate this rotting, poisoned Eve look. If you guys want to see how I got this look, please keep on watching. With the two lightest brown colors in the Jaclyn Hill palette, I'm going to be using those as my transition shade. With the two reddish colors in the middle, I was actually checking to see if the colors have names, but they don't. I'm just going to be dragging both of these colors from my temple all the way to my nose. And do not worry about being neat with this. The messier it looks, the better, because she is supposed to be dead and rotting. She is a zombie. For a little more intensity, I went into my Naked Heat palette and I grabbed the two darkest colors, Ashes and Fuego, and I am using that to intensify the outer V of my eye. And then I'm just dragging the remainder of the color all the way up to my nose and around the temples, under the eyes, and with a thinner pencil brush, I am carving out the nose. So for the outermost V part of the eye, I used black. And now I'm just highlighting the brow bone and using that same gold color from the DesiXKaty palette all over the lid. With this reddish color from the Jaclyn Hill palette, I am just intensifying the temples and the reddish colors all over the face. And for my face, I'm doing a regular routine. So I primed with the NYX Angel Veil Primer, and I am using my Fenty foundation in the shade 220. So for concealer, I'm using the Shape Tape in the lightest color that I have. And I'm just using this to highlight all of the high points of my face. And I'm using a flat concealer brush just to buff all of that out. And then I'm going to go in with that same Kylie blending brush, and I'm going to make sure that there are no harsh lines in between the eyeshadow and the concealer. Just kind of blend it in all as one. And here I am just using my Marc Jacobs black liner to tight line and put some eyeliner on the waterline. For this look, I did not want to do a wing, but I do need a black line up top just to cover up my lash band because I am using thicker lashes. And I had used these lashes on a previous Halloween look, so they did have a little bit of makeup on them, but some black eyeliner covers that right up. So I'm using my Fenty Beauty contour stick just to carve out the face a little bit before I go in with my mystical contouring. And that's my e.l.f. small stipple brush. So with that same reddish color from the Jaclyn Hill palette, I'm just using a fluffy blending brush to create a reddish contour. And with Ashes from the Naked Heat palette, I'm just putting that along the edges just to intensify that contour, bottom of my lip, and then I'm going to be carving out the nose with that same brush. I'm not putting any additional product on my nose, just any remaining product on the brush just goes on the nose. And then with Fuego highlighter, I'm just over highlighting all the high points of my face just to make everything pop. And for my lip color, I'm using DesiXKaty's Sauvage from Dose of Colors. So I got this little branch thing from a floral shop near my house. You can get things like this at Michael's or AC Moore. I removed some of the leaves just to make it easier, just so that I can see what I was doing. And it was still a little bit difficult. It's difficult to work around the leaves, so I actually ended up removing all the leaves just to work with the stick. They're easy to reattach, so that was just the easiest for me. And if you are going to recreate this look, try to test out the branches at the store. Make sure that they're bendy enough, because if it's not bendy, it's going to pop right off your face. I tried this before and I failed. Alright, so to create these wounds, it's really, really easy. The only thing you need to do with a beauty sponge, I'm going to actually link everything down below. With a beauty sponge, you just add liquid latex directly onto your face. Then you add a layer of tissue. And then on top of that layer of tissue, you add more liquid latex. And then on top of that liquid latex, you add another layer of tissue. So it's basically liquid latex, tissue, liquid latex, tissue. This basically creates like a very like latexy substance, and it just sticks to your face. If you notice, I avoided putting too much makeup on the side of my face where I was going to create the wounds, because if your face is full of makeup, it's really hard for this to adhere to your face. So there's always going to be like a little part of the edges of the tissues that are going to be kind of like left over. So at the end, you can kind of rip off those edges. It's okay if it looks messy. It's not supposed to look clean. Once you rip off the edges, you want to make sure that you're saturating the area with liquid latex. Obviously not too much, but you want to make sure that this is really adhered to your skin. Here I'm using the back of a brush just to press it up against my skin and make sure that it's stuck on right so that it doesn't pop off. Then with a foundation brush, I am just covering the liquid latex. They do sell liquid latex that is flush tone, but I just couldn't find it. And here with some scissors, I'm just cutting up that latex and making it look rough and adding some slits, and that's gonna give you the realistic look of, you know, your skin is broken and the vines are coming out of your skin. So I like to add a black cream. A shadow works fine, I just prefer using cream. Anywhere where there's dents and where it's supposed to be hollow, that just gives it a little bit more depth. It doesn't look like that now, but once you add the rest of the colors on top, you'll be able to tell. And then with one of those beauty little sponges, I would never use a beauty blender for this. You want to use a disposable sponge because beauty blenders are too precious and expensive to be ruined. So now with a blending brush, just any regular eye blending brush, I'm using those same reddish colors from the Jaclyn Hill palette and just kind of buffing it all over. You want to make sure you're not putting too much. And yeah, just buff it all over on top of the black, all over the area, and that's going to start creating the appearance of like bruised, disturbed skin. And from my, there's like a little bruise palette thing. I'm going to link it down below as well. It's supposed to give the appearance of a bruise. I just kind of put it all over the edges. And then I like to use coagulated blood, if that's even how you say it, because it's thicker in consistency, it's not too watery, and it does make it look more like a wound that's drying up. And I also like to use the black as a base because this blood can look a little sheer. So I just like to lay it on top of black and mix it with black so it looks a little bit more realistic. And you can just kind of like, you know, hop around and don't get scared to get messy with it. Just do it in small sections to make sure that you don't get too crazy and it doesn't end up looking too fake. So now that I'm done with my wound section of it, I'm reattaching the leaves. So you see that was pretty easy. So yeah, I think it would be helpful to get vines that can attach and detach to make it easier on yourself. And here now I'm just adding that contour on the other side of my face. So with that same reddish color from the Jaclyn Hill palette, I'm going to be using that fluffy brush. You want to make sure that you're not using a brush that's too dense. You want to make sure it's really, really fluffy so that it gives you like that diffused look. And then with the brown and black color from the palette as well, I'm just going to go over the entire area and on top of the reds, adding browns and blacks and reds, and then that hint of green gives your skin a very bruised appearance, but you want to make sure that you're doing everything in steps. You don't want to have too much product on the brush because it'll just make a mess. You want to make sure that you're building it up slowly. So now I wanted the vines to seem like they were coming out of my chest and then they're attaching up to my head. So basically you're going to do the same thing that you did on the forehead. You do a layer of liquid latex, a layer of tissue, a layer of liquid latex, a layer of tissue, and then once you give it like 5 minutes to dry, cover it with some foundation and then start cutting some wounds in there. And again, this is the same thing that we did up top in the forehead. I like to add black wherever there's supposed to be, you know, some dimension. And then the green, this is just going to create the bruised look. So I actually slid out my vine because it was just really uncomfortable. So now with a very sharp edge, that's actually like a broken brush. You just put a little bit of red and you scratch it on there and it makes it look like your skin is scraped. And then I'm just going back and forth, adding random bits of brown and black. So here I'm just adding blood. And with the blood, you can get creative. You can add it however you'd like. Just don't do too much at once. Put a little bit on the brush and kind of build it up until it starts looking like a real cut. And then at the end, I just took one of my little tools and I just started grabbing blood and splattering it in random places. I didn't want to be too neat with it. I wanted it to look real and, you know, like someone was just cutting me out. Here I'm just freehanding. I don't even know what I'm doing. Doesn't that look gross? It looks like I'm sticking the vine into my skin. It's always cool when you can scare yourself on your own tutorials. Here I'm just going a little blood happy. This blood is really good. I am going to link it down below. It has like that dark appearance, so it looks very realistic. And then I'm just adding some blood right there. Anywhere else where I feel like it's missing. So at the end, I decided to add some blood to the leaves because obviously if these leaves are coming out of my body, they should be bloody as well. And that is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, don't forget to subscribe.